also the spaces. We have over 170 million items and are adding 8 or more kilometers of items a year. So it's almost impossible to for us to digitize and make accessible all of those collections. And so in all likelihood, if you're working on our collections, you'll be making a visit to one of our sites. Our site in St Pancras not only provides 11 reading rooms where you can access the material, but also exhibition spaces and cafes, restaurants, and places where you can work and informally network with other people. A lot of our material is stored in the site at Boston Spa, which also has a reading room and services the north of England. And then the third item is that we have future plans. We're working with Leeds City Council to establish a major new public centre for audiences and readers in the north of England. If you look at the next slide, which is called collection areas, what I've tried to do here is just give you a bit of an idea of the scope of our collections. So in addition, our collections will be roughly divided into science, technology, medicine, business and IP, social sciences, and arts and humanities. And what I've done here is just chosen the arts and humanities area and listed, according to the way that the curatorial teams are structured, the kinds of materials we have. And what you'll note straight away is that we really do cover material from across the world and in many, many, many languages. As well as that, it's worth pointing out some other things, such as the Sound and Vision collection under Contemporary British. Within that collection, we have lots of sounds of nature. We have a huge amount of world and traditional music, as well as Western music, as well as a lot of oral history. And that brings me on to, I think, another point, which is it's really important when thinking about our collections to think laterally. Have a think about what other items you could be using to do your research. Some of that will be, so for example, how could you be using our oral history collections? What about our stamp or philately collections? Is there material there? We have an extraordinary collection of visual arts, whether that is in albums, whether that's photography, whether that's prints that are found in books, as well as in individual collections. Think about those and think how newspapers, for example, could actually help the research. And I think that's why it's important to have those discussions with people on site to help you navigate through the collections. The next two slides very quickly show you the scope of our collections, whether that is sound recordings, the middle on the left, philately or stamps, two along from that, or zines themselves. The next slide shows a couple of other unusual items. We don't actually keep taxidermied birds in the collection. That's actually to represent the sounds of nature. And obviously we have items such as this Chinese terrestrial globe as well. And then the last slide is a start of an indication of how to start to make sense of these collections. So we produce collections guides and we continually add to these. At the moment, there are 270 odd guides on our website, and you will find them really useful to give you ideas. And they'll give you an overview of what a specific collection might include, what's available online, what's available in our reading rooms, and also in other organisations. And where possible, we've already also included additional information such as bibliography or web links. Finally, I also suggest you look at our blogs. So we have many different blogs. We produce many different blogs, some of them written by our curators, some of them written by other museum staff, and some of them are written by guest curators. And what those blogs do is a lot of them are written at research level, and a lot of them give guides to the collections that we have and point out some interesting things. It's worth keeping an eye on those and using them as inspiration for different ways and different ways you could use our collection. So hopefully, I'm going to stop now, and that's given you a brief overview of some of the things for you to look forward to as you engage with us. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks so much, Xerxes, for this comprehensive and really helpful introduction to the British Library. I do know, I think you have to go quite soon, but perhaps if people have got questions for you, they could still post them in the Q&A, and we will do our best to answer them or to come back at a later stage with the information. So thanks so much again, Xerxes. And I will move straight on. It's my turn now to very briefly speak to you about how the library can help you further with your doctoral research and to give you some examples of some of the things we do. So Xerxes has already highlighted how important doctoral research is for the library. So it's vital for an institution that cares for such vast collections and resources. And of course, PhD research, your research brings new approaches, innovative perspectives, fresh insights, and it helps us challenge ourselves and helps us document and critically examine and interrogate our collections, and also make the collections more accessible to communities and audiences. As you know, perhaps something to mention, as you may know, our staff also typically co-supervise collaborative doctoral awards each year. So we are also directly involved in working in partnership, as Xerxes mentioned in another context earlier, with universities and with PhD researchers across a range of disciplines and subject areas. But I'll come to my first slide, and of course this is where we are with you today. So you know, of course, about our doctoral open days, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But as you have probably only discovered them recently, you might not know yet that there are quite a well-established series for new PhD students, which we have been running for quite a long time. And pre-pandemic, these events were held at our Knowledge Centre at St Pancras, with an additional one at our Yorkshire site in Boston Spa. And last year we started offering the doctoral open days as an online program instead, which has made them hopefully more accessible to you if you're not based geographically close to us. But whether on-site or online, each year we start with this kind of introduction to the British Library, just like we're doing today, and then followed by a series of more interactive events that provide information about specific areas of the collections, as mentioned at the beginning. And if you joined a bit later, just to let you know again that in the future modules, so from module 2 through to 8, you will have more opportunity in breakout rooms, etc., to speak directly to our staff and also to each other. So as you can imagine, the programme is a real team effort and is delivered by staff from across the library, particularly our curators, the reference services team, also the research development team, but also supported by the library's own collaborative doctoral students, and some of them you will meet in our other modules. So just a reminder of what's coming up, our broadly online offer of modules 1 through to 8, and hopefully also still very much firmly planned, our on-site open days on the 4th and the 7th of March. So if you're a bit nervous about actually setting foot in the building and registering as a reader, those might be useful for you. And as mentioned earlier, we will share more information about the on-site open days next month. I just want to very briefly highlight 3 of the future online modules, which are modules 6, 7, and 8. So not just books, these are our web archives, metadata, digital research, and more. So you can discover about collection areas that perhaps you haven't yet considered. There are also pre-recorded videos that complement the live sessions, and you can ask us questions directly on your specific research topics. Contemporary society and culture, so millions of items in our contemporary collections. How do you unlock those? We'll give you some tips on those. And then maps to media will cover maps, sounds, news and media, science, visual arts, or even the India Office records. So quite a wide range of things that perhaps you haven't all considered yet for your specific project. A useful service I would like to make you aware of is Ethos. Ethos is a database for UK doctoral theses provided by the library, and its aim is to maximise visibility and availability of theses. Anyone can use Ethos for their research from anywhere in the world. It's free, and it's an openly accessible website. So I think we'll be sharing the link in the chat. You can also see the web address here on this slide. The aim of ESOS is to hold a record for all doctoral theses awarded by UK higher education institutions, and to make the full text to as many theses as possible accessible, and to also demonstrate the quality of UK doctoral research. ESOS helps institutions to meet government and funders' expectations that PhDs should be made freely available in open access repository. And for you, actually, it also has a number of practical advantages. So you can find out when you're starting out, or as you're getting closer to finishing, what does actually a thesis in your subject area look like? How is it structured, for example? You can review what theses are available that might intersect with your own research. And when you have completed your thesis and it has been validated, you can ask your university to arrange for it to be added to ESOS. And you can see on this slide, I've included a screenshot of a tweet, because ESOS was featured, I don't know if you saw this, at the end of last year in the Festival of Social Science, and perhaps some of you attended the session which was called Digging in Doctorates. So this was run by Durham University in collaboration with the library, and demonstrated a new AI tool called Sniffer, which was being used to interrogate the data in ESOS and to show how PhDs address important real-life questions. So perhaps some of you were aware of this and were at this event. I would also like to draw your attention to our annual PhD placement scheme for current PhD students, and the next round of placement opportunities will be advertised by the end of this month. If this is of interest to you, then please keep an eye on our website. There is a link here on this slide, so you'll get this when the recording and the resources from today are shared, but will also be posted in the chat for you. This scheme offers PhD placement projects in areas across the library. The projects reflect our current strategic priorities. So we set broad themes for them, and this ensures that the placements not only make a meaningful contribution to our activities, but also that placement students are immersed into the working environment of the National Library. So how does this work? When we advertise the placement opportunities, each project has a project profile which lists the expected tasks and outcomes, also where there's scope for you to develop the approach, the training experience that is offered, and any required knowledge or skills, which could be specific language skills for some projects. And all projects will provide scope for you to define areas of focus depending on your own interests and development needs. The duration for each placement is 3 months full-time or part-time equivalent. Most placements are suitable for part-time students, and where possible, we will also offer the opportunity to undertake the placement in a hybrid model or even remotely, fully remotely, depending on the project. We strongly encourage students, of course, to make the most of any funding for development activities that may be available to them through their studentship or university from other sources, so through a doctoral training partnership, for example. But we recognise that there will be a proportion of students who cannot access this sort of funding. So we also set aside a placement fund that students can apply to. And as mentioned, the new opportunities will be advertised on our website very soon. This will be for placements that could start anytime between around June 2022 and December or January 2023 if undertaken full-time, so from June onwards. If you want to be kept informed about placement opportunities generally, you can also sign up to our mailing list. Also, if, for example, this year's scheme isn't of interest for you, but you want to find out about next year's, then you can just email us at research.development@bl.uk and ask to be added to our mailing list. Say you're specifically interested in the placements, and we will keep you up to date on upcoming opportunities. And this slide just shows you an example of the types of projects this could include. So these are some of the projects that were advertised in our last round. And we can share in the chat a few examples of blog posts written by some of the most recent students. around these topics. And finally, if you would like to find out more about research at the British Library, including postgraduate research, there are a few options. So you can explore our research collaboration web pages, and this slide gives you a flavour of what to expect there. We can share this link with you also in the chat. You can also take a look at our research report, which also includes case studies from our collaborative PhD students and placement students. And you can subscribe to our quarterly research newsletter by contacting, again, the research development team and ask to be added to the mailing list. So again, the email address is on the slide here at the bottom for you. And finally, because we do want to give you a break as well, very briefly, we would like to mention to you that we have prepared specifically for PhD students new to the library a collections booklet. This provides you with a brief overview over the collection areas, and it includes short and practical how-to guides for you at the end to help you remember how to get started after listening to today's presentations. You can download this booklet as a PDF from our website. We'll also be posting the link for you in the chat. Please note that when you click on the link, the booklet doesn't open in your browser, it will directly download, so you might not actually see it directly on your screen, so check your downloads on your device. So this is it from me, so thank you very much. We will be taking a break now and come back at 2:55 when you will hear from our reference services team how to get started as a reader, how to access and use our catalogues, how to order items, and how to use our reading rooms. And just a reminder, we will now be turning on the chat, so feel free to use that to connect with each other, to post comments, maybe share what you're working on. So we hope that so far this has been useful for you, and we look forward to seeing you again after the break at 2:55. Thanks very much. Hi everyone, thanks so much for all the great comments, and great to see you connect with each other as well. Just a reminder, we'll now be turning off the chat as we come back from our break, and we will be turning it back on for you at the end after the last presentation for a little bit of time. So we'll continue shortly. Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you also managed to get a bit of a break, but you're all very engaged in the comments and questions, so thanks so much, both for the lovely feedback and for all you've shared with each other there. Yeah, just as mentioned, we will turn off the chat during the next presentation, so it's easier to concentrate and we don't all get distracted by the constant pop-ups. But it will be turned back on again at the end. And I also wanted to mention to you that if you're attending one of the other modules, so from module 2 onwards, we will also be setting up online networking spreadsheets for you, where you can then add your details, see what other people are working on, and share your contact details with each other that way if you would like to. So we won't manage that data, we won't use it at all. And we won't store it, but you'll be able on the day to connect with each other in that way as well. I also wanted just to give you a couple of reminders. So you will be sent links to the recording after the event. You will also be receiving the slides with any links on the slides, and also the registration links for the next modules. And I know some of you asked about the on-site events, which we're very much intending to hold, again, subject to no further pandemic restrictions, on the 4th and 7th of March. So bookings for those will open on the 9th of February, and you will receive an email that day because you attended today, so that you can find out about further booking details, what we're planning to do with you that day, and how to book on. If you want to come to one of those, we recommend booking early because capacity will be somewhat more limited on those. So thanks so much again, and I'm now moving on swiftly, and I'm pleased to introduce my colleagues Rachel Brett and Karen Waddell, both in our reference services team, who will be telling you more about how to start researching with the library. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you. Good afternoon, welcome. I'm Rachel, and along with my colleague Karen, who are both based in reference services, we are going to be talking you through some practical aspects of using the library. So let me share my screen with you. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. Okay, so as we've already heard from Xerxes, we're not like other libraries. We're not a public library, and we're not a university library. We're the National Library. We're the second largest library in the world. So as a consequence, we've got some procedures that you might not be familiar with, but hopefully this session will make you better prepared to help you start using our collections. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to talk you through some an overview of the library, how we're kind of set up and how we're organised. I'll then hand you over to Karen, who's going to do a demonstration on how to search and order material through our catalogue. As been mentioned, we are going to send out the slides, and we will be answering questions at the end. So you know, don't worry if you kind of forget things. Okay. So as already been mentioned, we are a purpose-built library. When people think of the British Library, they imagine the round reading room at the British Museum. But this was transformed, and the purpose-built library at St Pancras was built in 1997. And we also have an additional site at St Pancras, which we've also heard about, where some of our material is stored, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. The library has a long history, and these historical roots and department legacies have determined what our collection strengths are and how the library is organised. So, for instance, why we've got a humanities reading room and a science reading room. As already has been mentioned, we are a legal deposit library, one of 5 in the UK, which means publishers are obliged to deposit a copy of each book with us. However, warning, they don't always do so, and we don't always receive them. But hold that thought, because I'm going to come back to that a little bit later on in my talk. And as has also been mentioned, we don't just collect books, we have a huge collection of various formats, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment as well. So first things first, if you haven't already started to use the library, the first thing you need to do is register for a Reader's Pass. Now, at the moment, this is an appointment based. This started during when we reopened after lockdown. But I do understand that if you're coming along to the days, then your appointments have already been booked. But if not, and you're going to do that in the future, you need to check our website and make an appointment to come in to register for a Reader's Pass. You used to be able to pre-register online, but this has currently been turned off as well. But hopefully this is going to be able to be turned back on in the future. So do check the website if you're not planning on registering quite soon. But either way, what's the most important is that you have the correct forms of ID. There's a link to the website here which tells you those forms of ID which you can bring, because some are accepted and some aren't. So that's the most important thing. You need to bring the correct forms of ID with you to get your Reader's Pass. But once you've got your Reader's Pass, that will then give you access to our reading rooms and to access our collection. So our reading rooms, these are a little bit like a library within a library. These are the rooms that you're going to go in to actually access the collection, and you can't go into these rooms until you've got your Reader's Pass. So you can come into the library, you can use the desks that are in the main building, but to actually go into the particular reading rooms and to order material, you need to have your Reader's Pass. And the reading rooms are all subject focused. So we've got Humanities, Humanities 2, a newsroom, science rooms, business and IP room, but we also have specialist collection rooms. Now, the distinction with these are if you're using this type of material, so if you're looking at maps or manuscripts or rare books, this material can only be looked at and ordered in those particular rooms. If you're ordering a printed monograph or a journal, you can order those to any room. But if it's specialist collection material, as is shown on the screen, you will only be able to look at those in that particular room. Because each room will also hold reference books on the open shelf related to that particular room, but I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that in a moment as well. So that's our reading rooms. As I've said, we are the National Library, so therefore we do have some rules and regulations of how you can use us. When you get your pass, you will have signed up to some terms and conditions, and there are some rules and regulations. So, for instance, you won't be able to bring any large bags into the reading room. We do have lockers and we do have a cloakroom, and you would be expected to use those. And we also have clear carrier bags. I don't know, you've probably seen a lot of readers if you've been on site with clear carrier bags. So we ask you to put your things that you're going to be using for the reading room in those, and not to bring large coats into the reading room either. They can go in the lockers. We don't allow water into the reading room, so no bottles of water, no liquids, nothing that can damage the collection basically. Pencils only, so no pens. And you cannot download from our databases, and our network doesn't support Office packages. So, and you can't print from your own device either. But we do have Wi-Fi, and our PCs are there to search the catalogue and to access our resources from. But you can't plug your own USB into our PCs. And we're not a university library, so we don't keep multiple copies. And most importantly, we're not a lending library. So the material that you're going to look at, you can only look at in the reading rooms. You can't lend it and you can't take it out of the reading room. So that's a few things that you can't do. You don't have to handle our collection with white gloves, which often surprises people, seeing that we've got some of the rarest things in the world. But we do ask you to take special care when you're handling things, because even a textbook is irreplaceable. And we are collecting material for the nation, so future generations will be able to access it. So we do ask you to be careful. We would ask you not to carry more than 6 books at a time. So if you order a full run of material, please do ask issue desk staff for a trolley, and they will issue you one of those. Please don't bend books back because this is going to damage the spine. Please use book weights. So these are heavy weights called snakes. Issue desk will issue you with those, and they will help you hold your page open. We've also got book rests, so please do ask for those. If you're looking at things like maps or manuscripts, we also have some special light material which you might need to use, so you can ask staff for those as well. And even things like magnifying glasses, so you can ask staff to look at for those as well. Okay. So you can copy from our collections. All copyright laws apply. We do have an imaging service for specialist images, specialist if you wanted a higher quality image. However, this service at the moment is currently suspended, and I suspect that's because they've got quite a backlog. But so do check your website if you are going to be placing an order for some images. But you can take photographs in the reading room. Again, there are some restrictions around this with particular specialist items, but staff would advise you in the reading room what you can and cannot take photographs of. You can't photograph the screens, for instance, because that's licensing for the databases that we subscribe to, but a printed book you definitely could take a photograph of. We don't have photocopiers in the room, and this relates to the previous slide to do with handling the collection, because if you were to place a book flat on a photocopier, it would damage the spine. But we do have scanners, so you can scan, and that is free. And you can also scan it to your memory stick or to email. And you can print from our resources. So if you're looking at something on our digital resources, you can print, and there is a fee for that. That is 29p per page. And there's also a staff assisted service with that as well. So if you wanted staff to print stuff for you, they could do that. So you can copy, but there's just a few regulations around it. So due to the scale of the library, you're not going to come into the reading rooms and find all the books. Unlike a traditional library, there's not going to be rows and rows and shelves of books. The only books that you will find in the reading rooms are reference books, so things like dictionaries and encyclopedias. And this is because we've obviously got way too many. The books are all held in closed storage. So the images that you can see on the screen at the moment, one of them is one of our basement areas. And the reason I'm showing you this is to help you understand how the book gets from that basement area to you in the reading room. So what will happen, you are going to search our online catalogue, and you're going to place an order for the item that you want to see. When you've done that, a ticket will print in our basement area, and then our retrieval staff will find that item in these miles and miles of storage. They will then put it in a tray, and they will put it on this conveyor belt system, which you can see in the other photograph. This system snakes its way all the way around the building, and it delivers the book to the reading room. If you order a book that's in the building at St Pancras, it will take 70 minutes to be delivered. If you order a book that is held in Boston Spa, it will take 48 hours to be delivered. There's no deliveries from Boston Spa at the weekend, and there's only one delivery, and it's in the morning. So if your item will be there, if it's from Yorkshire, in the morning, it's not throughout the day. When you order your item in the catalogue, it will tell you where the item is held, so you will know. It will either say delivered within 70 minutes or delivered within 48 hours. So as you start to get used to using the catalogue and ordering the material, you'll become familiar with that, and it'll make more sense when Karen shows you a demonstration as well. But this image really is just to help you understand how our material is stored and how the process works of you ordering it through the catalogue to the book actually being delivered on its journey from the basement area to the reading room. So hopefully that will kind of help you understand how our system works. We also have additional storage in Boston Spa, and as I've just said, if the material's held there, it will take 48 hours, and the lorry comes throughout the night and it's delivered in the morning, so there's only one delivery, so it will always be there when we open. This image that you can see on the screen here is it's probably quite old now. This was a brand new building built at Boston Spa to store mostly our newspapers, and it's actually operated by a robot. So a robot crane will go through these very, very tall stacks of books, and it will find the right crate, and it will pull it out, and it will put the item that you've ordered onto a system, and that will be loaded onto a lorry, and it will come to St Pancras. As I've said, it is operated by a robot, so sometimes there is glitches with that, sometimes it breaks down, sometimes the item isn't delivered, but that's the point when you would come to the reference desk and we would help you with that. Boston Spa is also where the interlibrary loan collection is held. Now, interlibrary loans aren't, you don't place the order for that. That's done through your own librarian and your own institution, who would have an account with the loans department, who are based in Boston Spa. There are only certain items that are part of that collection, and it doesn't include our specialist collections items. So you wouldn't be able to get, for example, a manuscript through interlibrary loan into your library, but it would definitely be worth checking with your librarian in your institution if the particular item you wanted was part of interlibrary loan, because then they could get it into the library for you to access there. So that is the Boston Spa site. Okay, reference services. This is where Karen and myself work. So we provide the librarian role. There's a reference desk in every single reading room. So if you forget everything that we tell you today, don't worry, because there's a reference desk with a reference librarian based in every room, and just come and ask us and we can help you. We are there to offer you guidance and support, to show you how to access our collections. We can also check other institutions for you. So there might be an item that we don't hold that might be in a specialist library, and we could check that for you. What we don't do is then order that item into our library. We could just point you in the direction of where it was held. And we can also check uncatalogued items for you. So as I was saying at the beginning of my talk, sometimes items don't arrive because publishers don't send them to us, but sometimes they arrive and they haven't yet been catalogued. So if you're looking for an item, let's say that was published by Oxford University Press, it's a UK publication, it's brand new, there's no way the British Library wouldn't have it, but you can't find it in our catalogue, that's the point you will come to the reference desk, and we will be able to check our cataloguing system for you to find out if it has actually been sent to the British Library and arrived. And if it has been sent and it has arrived, we can then contact our cataloguing departments, who could then speed that process up and make the book available for you by cataloguing it. So again, please do come to the reference desk. We are there to help you. And we also offer workshops and one-to-ones. So if you want to know more information about a particular collection, or you want a more involved one-to-one session, then you can book those with a member of the team. And there are links which I will be showing you at the end of the talk. In addition to the service that we provide in the reading rooms, we also have a remote reference service. We can answer your inquiries. So we have a service called Ask the Reference Team, and you don't need to be a member of the British Library to use this. In fact, anyone, anywhere in the world can access it through the website. You can submit an inquiry, and we would offer up to 30 minutes free research time, and we would be able to answer your inquiry via an email. We also run a chat service, so that's open from 10 till 5. And again, anyone can use that. You can submit any kind of quick query through it, and we will be able to kind of answer you through that. We can refer you to curators, but obviously that would take a little bit longer. So kind of bear that in mind. And we also have a Twitter service, a Twitter account, and we do use that to put updates on and to update you with news. And you can ask us questions. So if you are on Twitter, then you can follow us. So that's our remote service, as well as face-to-face in the reading room. Okay, so a little bit about the types of materials we hold. As we said, it's not just books. We are a hybrid collection. So we have over 2 million sound recordings, and these include things like nature sounds, interviews. We have microfilm, microfiche, conference reports. The audiovisual collection has national live stories, speeches, radio, TV. If you're going to be using that collection, the Sound Archive, that's an appointment-based service. So if there's a recording that you want to listen to, you can make an appointment with our sound team, and they will come in and they will play you the recording. We even have some artworks, we have some objects. I believe we've got guns, we've got some of Shelley's ashes, alongside books, journals, fanzines, photographs, a whole array of material. It's not just books. And in addition to that, we've got digital material. As Xerxes said to us earlier, in 2013, the law was passed that we also collect digital items. So this means publishers can decide if they want to send us the physical printed copy of a book or the e-copy of an e-book. So in some instances, if it's a new item, we may only have an e-copy of that book, and that you would access through our PCs in the reading rooms. But we also have digitalized copies of articles and newspapers. We subscribe to most of the big platform providers, so you'll be able to access JSTOR, Gale, Francis and Taylor, EBSCO, and these are all free to access on site. Due to licensing subscription restrictions, the majority of these are only accessible on our PCs, so you wouldn't be able to access them remotely or on your own PC. There are a small amount, a few exceptions to that. We also have the UK web domain sites. We've also heard about Ethos, so you can access Ethos because we no longer collect paper copies of doctoral theses, but you can access them digitally. So lots and lots of material in lots of different formats is a way to summarise that. We've also heard a little bit about our subject guides. This is the link which will be sent out to you to those. The other thing that we have to help resource-wise is reference work. So this is the only material that is actually on the shelves to browse. Now this is called the Open Access Collection, which is slightly confusing because that's a legacy title of the collection. It simply means that it's on an open shelf and you don't need to search the catalogue and order it. You can discover it through the catalogue by refining your search to shelved in the reading room, but this material is just free for you to browse, and each reading room has its respective subject area reference works within that reading room. And as I've already mentioned, we also offer one-to-one sessions and discovery sessions, and there are links on the website to book those. And you are also welcome to email myself and Karen afterwards if you wanted to discuss and book a session further. But to access all this material, you need to search our catalogue and all the material. So at this point, I'm going to hand you over to Karen, who is going to demonstrate for us how to search the catalogue and order some material. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand you over to Karen. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Hi, everyone. My name is Karen, and I'm a news reference specialist here at the British Library. So I work in news and media collections and deal with any inquiries related to those, either in the newsroom or via our remote inquiry service or chat service, as previously mentioned by Rachel. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go into an in-depth tutorial this afternoon, but I'm going to give you a brief overview and introduction to our catalogue and some basic tips on searching and ordering. So this is our main catalogue, Explore the British Library, explore.bl.uk. And there are a couple of ways to access it. If you're in our reading rooms, you will see a link directly from the reading room homepage. But from off-site, if you want to prepare before you come in, you just need to go to bl.uk, which is this page here, which is our main website, and then there's a link straight away on the main page there. So if I click on that, I'll be taken straight to our main catalogue page. You'll be presented with a general search box there, and there's a couple of tabs above it. So this one highlighted here in yellow is the main catalogue, and this is where you can search for any material contained within the catalogue. If you're looking for something to order, to read on site, or via our on-demand service, then this is the tab to be on, main catalogue here. On this catalogue, you will find printed material, so books, journals, newspapers, maps, and also audio-visual material. There is a separate catalogue for sound and visual material, but you can also locate it through this catalogue. The main part of the collection that you can't access through the Explore is our archives and manuscripts material. There is a separate catalogue for that. If you just go up to catalogues on the page there and hover over it, you'll see these drop-down sections here. Under manuscripts, you've got an archives and manuscripts catalogue there. So to look at any material from those collections, you would need to be on that catalogue. That'll be any of our any archival material, diaries, correspondence, things like prints and drawings, and our India Office collections, musical, handwritten musical scores, things like that. That can all be discovered through that catalogue. But back to our main catalogue. Additionally, you have a tab here that says available online. This is a fairly recent addition, hence the beta there. It was added in 2020 for probably obvious reasons. And on here, if you want to start discovering and reading material before you come into the library, perhaps you want to get started straight after this presentation today, you can. That will be open access material that's freely available online for you to read. The tab on our website is online exhibitions of digitised content from our collections and learning resources, things like that. And then you've got Explore Further, which gives you a chance to search material from outside the library, and much of which will also be available online to you. But going back to the main catalogue, you can search for any keywords related to your research topic, any titles, authors. If you've got a specific book, you can search the ISBN. If you've got any shelf marks, anything like that, you can search in this main catalogue here. So let's have a look. I'm going to just do a search on provenance research. So I've just done a general search there for that term. The sort of and is implied, if you like, so it's searched for both of those terms in any of the catalogue records. You can use Boolean searching, so you can use and, or not in capitals if you want to, but the and is sort of implied in this instance. So it's provided me with over 4,000 results, and it's defaulted to sort them by their relevance. So I've searched for that term, and it's come up with a book where that is obviously the key type. It's in the key in the title. It's obviously the key subject of the book. It's provided that with first to me. You can also, if you click on the drop down, search your results by date, from oldest or from newest, A to Z title or author list as well. But it defaults to relevance, so we'll keep it as that. So if I'm interested in this book, I see there are 4 related resources here. So what are those? If I click on that, we can see that there are other editions of the same title. So we have one from 94, 98, and then the recent edition in 2019 there. You may also see related records for if there's an e-book available, or for the printed book and an e-book might be on separate records, and they might fall under that related resources tab. So it's worth clicking on there to make sure that you're getting the edition that you need to see. So if I click into this catalogue record and I click on the details tab, we can see it's a fairly detailed record. extensive subject indexing, the basic details for the title of the publication, etc., and a good description of the content. It's a recent book, so I would expect to see that there. If we go down to this shelf mark section, you'll see that there are 2 copies listed, and one is listed as open access. And as Rachel mentioned, that means it's on open access in one of the reading rooms. It's a legacy term from previous catalogues. So it's on open access in the rare books and music reading room. So you could go and see it there if you were on site and you wanted to. This other record shelf mark here refers to an item that's in storage. So general reference collection might seem like it's a reference work that's available on the open shelves, but it actually just means it's a general item in our collection and can be ordered to any of the reading rooms. So general reference collection does still mean it has to be ordered. So let's try another search. I'm going to look for works by the musicologist Sheila Whiteley. It's presented me with a few results there, and again it's filtered by relevance, so I've got works where she is the author or the editor coming up at the top of my results list. Well, we can filter our results here using the facets on the left hand side. Here you've got a number of options. So this top one, access options, as Rachel mentioned, you can filter to see what's available on open access in the reading rooms, or what's online. So if there's e-versions of any of these books, you can try online for reading room. And then you've got material type here. So I've got books and I've got articles, some audio, and her thesis there. So that would be a link to her thesis that would be available through Ethos. But if I click on articles, we see that actually they're not articles by Sheila Whiteley, but on Sheila Whiteley. So she sadly passed away a few years ago, so there's an obituary there. And then we see reviews of her work in academic journals there. So if I actually want to just find work by Sheila Whiteley herself, if you can get rid of any of your refinements there by clicking on the X's. You can either select her from the author, contributor options here, but we see there are a couple. So what I might do instead, if I go back up, is use our advanced search, where I can specify that I require material where she is the author. So you've got options, drop-down options here for subject, main title, publication year, etc. So if I select Sheila Whiteley as the author and I want to see books, then I'll search, and you see that my list has been refined to books by Sheila Whiteley. I just would mention at this point that on some of the older catalogue records, the subject indexing isn't there or as extensive. So I wouldn't, if you're sort of searching by subject, I would maybe start on the general search and then refine from there rather than coming straight to the advanced search. Just something to be aware of. So if I decide that I'd like to order this book, I go to I want this, and I can see there it says deliver item to the British Library Reading Room or my home or office. Now, as previously mentioned, we're not a lending library, so that won't be you receiving the book. What it might do is, if it's available, it gives you the opportunity to order a chapter, or if it's a journal, an article, through our on-demand service. And there are links to the on-demand service there. That would be for you to purchase, though, obviously. But if you want to come and view it in person, view it for free, then you would be ordering it to the reading room. So we'll say deliver item to the British Library Reading Room. We click go. And it will prompt you to log in if you haven't already. So you'll need a British Library online account to order any material, to view any material of our collection items, our physical collections on site. If you are yet to get your reader pass, you will create an account when you register. So that will be automatically done when you're registering and receiving your reader pass. If you've got one in the past but haven't created an account before the 13th of July 2020, if you received your pass before that date but didn't register for an account, then you may need to do so by following this link here. If you forget your username or password or any details, there are links here to reset via your email. If for any reason you can't access your email, if you're on site, you can always come and see us at the reference desks, or remotely you can contact customer services and they can advise on kind of sorting out your account. So I'm going to log in. And then see what we see here. So we want to order this book. And what it'll do is show us all the copies that are available. So we see actually there's a copy on open access in the social sciences reading room. So if I'm on site, I could go there and view that one, just take it off the shelf and view. But perhaps I'm in a reading room where I'm reading specialist material and I have to be in that room and I want to read this book alongside that special material. So I'd like to order a copy. So there are 2 copies here. I can see that one is held on site at St Pancras with a delivery time of 70 minutes and one is 48 hours. So that's held up in Boston Spa. So if I'd like to order it for today, I can, because you can order any time up to 4 PM for same day delivery. So I could click on that 70 minutes if I'm on site at St Pancras, request for today, and select your reading room. So ignore the staff ones, you'll just see these reading room options here. So let's say I'm in the newsroom, as I tend to be, and you click confirm, and that order will be sent through to the basement area to retrieve. You can order up to 10 items per day, and that does cover all collections. So manuscript material, anything will be included in that 10. If, for example, you're on a sort of a 2-day research trip, you could order 10 items for the first day, 10 items for the second day. That would absolutely be fine, but you are limited to 10 per day. This separate one here is sort of Boston Spa. I mean, if we're at St Pancras, we're probably just going to be ordering that version. It is the same. There were no indications under the item holdings that there were any difference between the 2 volumes, and there wasn't a separate record for a different edition or anything. So I think it's just an additional copy in our collection. But if you did want to order that, if I tick that, you'll see there, request for today is now greyed out because it's not possible to receive that item on the day. If we were ordering this item from Boston Spa, it's Wednesday today, so we could get it by Friday. But if we were ordering it tomorrow, it would arrive Monday, Friday, Tuesday, etc. So that's that 48 hours excluding the weekends and also bank holidays. So over Christmas, delivery times were obviously extended slightly. So if we wanted to order this from Boston Spa, we would add to basket instead. Oh, and I was trying it earlier, so it's in my basket. So what I will do is go back to the home page and show you where your basket is. It would take you automatically to it if it was added into your basket, otherwise you can access your basket here. And here we see it. So I would tick that, click in the date box and select the date required. So let's say I want to come in next Wednesday the 19th instead. I'd click on there, see that it's available, and then again I select my reading room and I click request. So then that will be on order for next week. Looking at how you can save your results, you can add items to something called My Workspace. So I've ticked some here. You would just tick the little star next to the item, and then you would go up to this section here, My Workspace, and you would have to be logged in to save these. So if I click on My Workspace, it should show me, hopefully, items that have been saved. You can filter them, file them away, and order them however you need to, and you can from there print or here we are, print or email records. So I can tick the ones I need. I'd like to email those to myself, or I'd like to print a copy. Or if you tick select how to save here, you see that you can push them to any kind of referencing application that you might be using. You can do this from the records themselves as well. Again, if I click on a record here, under actions on the right here, you'll see that you've got those same options. So you can do that with an individual record, or you can save some to your workspace and then send a load of items or a particular search that you're interested in, so you can access it out of the catalogue if you like. My Workspace, it's important to note, is only active whilst your pass is in date. So if you let your pass expire, unfortunately that work will be lost. So make sure to keep in date if you want to save things in My Workspace. So if I go back to home, we have mentioned several times electronically available materials, so publishers are depositing more and more with us in electronic rather than print form. So how would we access those? The majority are only accessible on site, so let's have a look. That's an example. So if I want to see this book on sports psychology, for example, I go to I want this and I see, it's not available to order, it's online, available online as digital content. Now, if I click go, it's not letting me see it. It's because I'm working from home today. I'm not on site, so it won't let me go through and actually access the item. If I was on site there, then there would be a link to access the item. That it would open up on the viewer on the reading room screen. You can't download any of that material, unfortunately, but you can print chapters or journal articles, obviously taking into consideration any copyright guidelines. So those can be accessed straight away on the screens. In terms of journals, it depends. Some are accessed at indexed at article level. So if you've got the title of a particular article you want to access, you can search for that on the catalogue. If you don't find it, you'll have to search for the journal title itself and order from there with a particular date, volume number, etc., which hopefully you've got from your reference. So let's have a look at one of those. So if I'm looking for articles on blood testing and I know that I want something from the journal Transfusion, I can select the journal title here and I can see articles from that journal with that topic. So if I click I want this, you'll see, actually, let me go into the record so you can see it a bit better. Here we are. So there's an electronic version available via Wiley Online Library. So any publisher that has provided us with an electronic copy will come up under that view online if they're indexed at article level like that. So this one you would then be able to click go straight through it and see it immediately on the reading room screen there. Again, if you haven't found that, you would have to go, if you haven't found the article itself, you could then instead go to the record for the journal, which will be this one here. I want this, and then you could fill in your details. Hopefully you'll have a year, a volume number, an issue number, etc. So that would be the version. Otherwise, we would take it in print as well. You could do the same by delivering item to your reading room there. Just a quick word on item holdings notes. I'll just show you. Punch is a good example. It has an incredibly complicated catalogue record, and people get very confused by trying to access this journal. So if I show you, if I go to the details, you'll see it's a very extensive, very lengthy catalogue record. It might take some time to get your sort of head around that. So what you can do to find out which shelf mark you should be ordering from and make sure you're getting the right date, if you go to the item holdings tab just under links on the right here and look at the holdings note. So that very first one there, general reference collection, we can see general reference collection, this is the shelf mark, the PP, and it covers those years. So that's what you need to know. You don't need to wade through the rest. If your year isn't covered there, then maybe read on and see, or if it says there are issues missing from that set or something, read on. But otherwise, you've got your details straight away there under the holdings note. So then what we would do is we would click I want this, deliver to reading room, click go, and this is where you'll have to provide a little bit of extra information. So this was our shelf mark, so maybe note it down from the holdings note. This was our shelf mark, we click request for today, and here we find this is where we then specify our year, volume, and you know, if you've got an issue number or a month or something, then pop it in there. You don't need a year and a volume, either will work. And then so we could say if we wanted 1860, for example, and we knew that we needed June, you pay 1860 June, select your reading room, and again confirm from there. One more thing, you can get to electronic resources directly from the catalogue. There's a whole other link on Reading Room, our Reading Room homepage, where they're all kind of set out and you can access them straight away. But you can access them also through the catalogue. So I'm going to look for Web of Science here, and if I filter my search by material type and go to databases, here we are, the Web of Science core collection. I could click I want this and view online. So you could click go there, and that will either take you to it on if you're on site on a Reading Room computer, or actually this is one of a small selection that you can access from home. And you'll see it says there, Reader Pass holders can access this resource on a personal device. So what you would do is click that. If you're not a reader, it'll prompt you to become one. Otherwise, you can log in and access that straight away at home. I'll click go if you're on a Reading Room computer. It'll take you straight to the resource. Once you've placed your orders, you might forget what you've ordered, or you might want to check what's coming up. Make sure that you've placed the correct orders. There's a selection here called My Reading Room Requests. You click on that, log in with the same online account details. And then you'll see all your requests. So I've got all my current requests here. Obviously, mainly newspaper based, because that's mainly these are to deal with inquiries ongoing. You can see that the green ones are listed as ready for collection there, so that means they're in the reading room. I can go and see those, go and pick those up straight away, so you know that they're ready for you to collect. So you could turn up to the reading room with your reader pass, show your pass at the issue desk and collect them. I've got one being processed there, which is due tomorrow. So if you placed an order but it's not yet arrived, so you will see that as being processed until it's being confirmed as received at the issue desk. And then I've got one that was sent back yesterday and is now back in storage. You can also access your older requests, put a date range and you can see those, and any unsuccessful requests. So hopefully you won't have too many of those, but if there are any issues with any deliveries, if you're in the reading room, please come and see us at the reference desk and we can hopefully rectify that for you. Or if it's something that we don't hold, then we would ideally suggest an alternative source. If you can't make it in, but you see that it's not made it to the reference desk when you've got an unsuccessful request, again, you can just contact us via the chat service or the reference inquiry service. And I really would encourage you to do so if you've got any inquiries to do with our collections. That is what we're there for, either on site or remotely. Please do contact us and come and see us. Thanks for listening. I'm just going to pass back to Rachel now.
Thank you so much, Karen. I'm just going to finish sharing my screen, which is just going to give you some links. So, whoops. As I said, these slides will be sent out to you. So in addition to the support that we offer you through reference services, there's a few more links here. We've got some really nice videos on YouTube, which are animated versions of what Karen and I have just been telling you. So they're quite nice, short animated videos of how to get a pass, how to use the library, how to kind of search material. This is the link to our main catalogue. As Karen said, this is the catalogue you would use if you were searching for printed material. If you were looking for manuscripts, you would go into the manuscripts catalogue, and if you were searching sounds, you'd go into the sounds catalogue. But those links are all in this main catalogue under the catalogues tabs. This is the link for our contacts. So if you wanted to send in an inquiry, this would be the link you would use. We also run workshops, and this is the subject guide link that Xerxes was telling us about earlier, and this is our Twitter tab. And that concludes our session, and we are very happy to take some questions if you have any.
Done the old Zoom thing of staying muted. Thank you so much, Rachel and Karen, for this really, really helpful introduction, which I think the students and participants today have also really engaged with, because there have been lots of questions flying about. And actually, Aurelio and Naomi have done a really good job of keeping on top of them. But we do have a few minutes if you want to post some further questions in the Q&A, and we can have a look. Okay, so I will try to see if there's anything recently. So we've got some open ones. I'll leave the sort of more practical around Reader's Pass, perhaps, because some of those have actually already been answered. So if you also look in the answered questions, you might find the information you need there. Maybe a reminder, how many items can you take out a day? We've got a question here.
That's 10. You can order 10 per day, but you can only keep 6 on reserve. So when you've ordered your items, you don't have to hand them straight back in. When you return them to the issue desk, staff will ask you, have you finished with them, or would you like to keep them? And if you'd like to keep them, you can look at, they will hold them for 3 more working days for you, but they will only hold 6 items per evening. So you can keep 6 on reserve, and that's on a rolling basis. So every time you've looked at them, you return them, staff will ask you if you finished, and if not, you can just keep them for 3 more working days.
And thank you, Rachel. I see some people are also asking about when they're pre-ordering, how far in advance can they pre-order?
Quite a lot, actually. I think it's at least a month.
Yeah, it's definitely 30 days. It might be longer, actually. You could definitely plan sort of a month ahead.
There's a good amount of time.
And that's what you'd use the basket for. So if you weren't ordering for that day, you would put them in the basket, and then, as Karen showed you, you would alter the date for the date that you wanted them.
Yeah, and you can use that process to order multiple items at a time rather than having to do sort of one at a time. You can add your 10 to basket and order them all together for the same day.
Thank you. And somebody has asked, do the computers in the reading rooms have accessibility technology?
Yes, we do have. It's often a good idea to contact our accessibility officer, Jason Murray, in advance, because we also have corrals, which are little rooms you can kind of book if you've got accessibility needs, and you can book that room and you can use it. And we definitely do have equipment, but it's probably best to email in advance Jason Murray, who's based in Humanities, and he will kind of set that up for you and help you kind of set you up using it.
Lovely, thank you. Sorry, Karen, you were going to add something.
So yeah, I was just going to add, there is a screen reader available on the reading room computers. It's non-visual desktop access, display access, sorry. That is available on the reading room computers. And there's also a couple of computers in the reading room where you can invert the colours as well if you need to, need to for vision. So yeah, do, as Rachel said, contact the accessibility team or us if you're on site.
And I saw that some people, so apologies to my colleagues Naomi and Aurelio, I'm picking out things at random here. But I saw that some people have been asking about, is it possible to reserve desk spaces in the reading rooms? And perhaps that also stems back to when there was a period where this was actually a requirement, but perhaps you can briefly explain that.
Yeah, you don't have to. You've never had to book desk spaces apart from when we reopened after the pandemic because we were doing social distancing. So during that time last summer, you did need to book a desk space, but you didn't previously. And thankfully, we've gone back to you don't need to book a desk space. But what that does mean is that it is a first come, first served basis. Now, before the pandemic, there were certain periods of the year when the reading rooms would become very busy. So, for example, Easter was a time when universities had deadlines, and you would find around that period of time, by midday, reading rooms would be full. So if you were planning on using the libraries around that period, you were always advised to arrive early because you can't reserve a seat. It's first come, first served.
Thank you. Somebody is asking, before I click on I want this or on the Explore browser, do we have to get a reader pass in hand?
So to order physical collection items, you do. at one point there was a sort of a pre-registration option to order a couple of items in advance, but I'm afraid now, you do need to have a physical pass in order to order physical collection items. Once you have your reader pass, you can come to reading rooms and we can assist you with that. And if there's something on site, you can hopefully get it that same day, or you can immediately access any of the electronic material on site once you have your reader pass in hand.
And you don't need a reader pass to search the catalogue. So if you just googled explore.vl.uk, you could get access to the catalogue immediately, and you can search it. You don't need your pass to just search it, and you don't need to be on site to search it either. So you can always kind of search to see if we hold the item.
We talked about the limit earlier of the 10 items, and somebody's asked, does this apply to digital material as well, or just to hard copies, printed material? I guess.
Just for physical items. Yeah, it does cover all types of physical items. So manuscripts, books, maps will all count towards that 10. But no, digital items you can access on top of that.
Great. So I think a lot of the other questions are around registration, getting a reader pass, etc., which have been answered. So I suggest you have a look in the answered section. Also, if, for example, your pass is expired, so that's been asked a few times and we've answered that. And if you look under answered in the Q&A, you should find this, and also you will obviously get the link to the recording, and you will get the slides as well. And so just checking if there's anything else more specific. Okay. So, maybe a final one. Is there a time limit when the orders are ready to pick up the items? So if somebody had an emergency and then couldn't attend within the limit, is it best to get in touch, or what should they do?
It's the 3 days. So as I said, you can keep it on hold for 3 days. So once your item has been delivered to the issue desk, it will be held for 3 days. If you don't look at it within those 3 days, it will be returned to storage. But you can contact customer services or contact us through the chat service, and we can hold that for you.
And perhaps a final one, because of the times we live in, the reader room capacity, has that been limited due to COVID? Is there anything people need to be aware of? You already said it can get very busy, so plan ahead, arrive in good time. But is there anything else people need to know in terms of the COVID measures that we have in place in the reading rooms?
Capacities were restricted when we returned from lockdown, but they have now been opened up and all seats are available. You must wear a mask though, unless you have an exemption.
Yeah.
That's in all areas of the library.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thanks very much, Rachel and Karen. I think we don't want to overrun too much, and we also want to give people time to still connect in the chat before we finish completely and end the webinar. So hopefully this has been useful, and thanks so much again to Rachel and Karen for your presentation and the practical tips, and for answering these questions just now as well. That's been really useful for everyone, I'm sure. Yeah, we've basically come to the end of today's event. So again, I would like to thank not just Rachel and Karen, but all our Xerxes as well as our other speaker, and also all our other colleagues who made today possible, and especially Naomi and Aurelio, who've been in the chat responding to questions and sharing links. And also our events manager, Robin, with whom you will have been in contact for your booking. We would like to leave you just with a few final suggestions. So we would encourage you to now start searching our catalogues, familiarising yourselves further with how to use the search terms relevant to your own research. You can use the collections booklet we shared with you today. Remember, there are practical tips at the end there as well to help you remember what you learned today. So see how far you can get on your own, and if you get stuck, you can contact our reference services specialists, and and or you can also bring your questions to one of our next events. And so after this event, you will receive a follow-up email from our events manager, Robin, and this will contain the link to the recording of today's event, the slides, booking links for the forthcoming modules as mentioned, so that you have that all in one place. You're welcome to attend as many of the other modules as you would like to. And next Wednesday at 2 p.m, we will be looking at our Americas and Oceania collections. Just to explain that after your initial registration for one of the other modules, you will then receive a link to the relevant program, and you will then be asked to confirm that you still plan to attend. So when you confirm, please use the same name and email address that you used when you registered. If you can't come anymore, that's fine. You don't need to let us know. You don't need to notify us of that. And I know some people asked also again about our on-site events. So as mentioned earlier, we will open bookings on the 9th of February. And because you attended today, this information will then be shared with you when the bookings open, so that if you wanted to try and get a place on one of those, you can do so as soon as the booking opens. So this is all from the British Library team today. We have a very short survey for you, which will appear on screen as you leave the webinar. So if you could spare a few seconds to complete this, we would be really, really grateful. We will keep the chat open for another 5 to 10 minutes or so that you can chat to each other. And also, I forgot to mention, we have now also set up a networking spreadsheet for you. The link was posted in the chat a bit earlier, and perhaps we can just repost that. That will allow you to share your contact details. Please be aware, we won't store that data, we won't manage it. It will be removed by midday tomorrow. So if you want to connect with each other on this online spreadsheet, you'll have to do so relatively soon. So thanks for joining us today. We hope you find it useful. Thanks for all your comments, for participating, for all your questions, and we look forward to seeing many of you again in the coming weeks. So see you again soon. Thanks very much.